All right, Shalom. First and foremost, want to begin by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash. Double honors to the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the fellow laborers out there. And as always, you believers. So yeah, I'm back once again through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And as always, the focal point of this lesson is Bible prophecy, which pretty much serves as an actual spirit when you consider prophecy, the spirit of prophecy, as it were. And as we often make mention to, that spirit is pretty much trending in the planet Earth. Basically, the spirit of prophecy has gone viral, which is nothing new, is nothing foreign. It's not as if this is some new concept that have come about because of this current kingdom. No, when you look back in times past, in retrospect, at the ancient cities of old, ancient civilizations and kingdoms, where they serve as somewhat pockets, if you will, realms, various worlds, which was spoken into existence by the word, the testimony of Yahweh Shai, in some capacity. All of these different kingdoms was by design, was actually spoken to be brought about. Matter of fact, let's prove that real quick before we get into this lesson. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is the book of Hebrews. The first chapter, and beginning at the first verse. And it reads, "The Most High, who at sundry times and in diverse manners," meaning in different times throughout the ages, "spake in times past unto the fathers by who? The prophets." So as we often speak to, the prophets serve as the pipeline, if you will, into which the Most High channels his words into the planet Earth. Verse 2, it says, "Having these last days spoken unto us by his son," which the last days, when you go into that concept, it really started 2,000 years ago at the birth of Yahweh Shai. That was basically the clock ticking, if you will, in relation to the kings of the earth having their part, having rulership. And I'm going to throw it out there again. This is king's language. When the Bible is properly presented, it opens you up to the will of the Most High. Now, when you read the book of Luke, the 12th chapter, it tells you how it's the Father's good pleasure to give you what? The kingdom. So that's the mystery that's being unraveled. Oh, the mysteries of the kingdom. Matthew, the 13th chapter. Meaning what? This concept of a new rulership, and in particular the poor being raised up to occupy the seat of power, is an actual mystery. See? So again, it says, "Having these last days spoken unto us by his son, whom he have appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds." You see? By whom also he made the worlds. So the Lord speaking to us, right, as it reads right here, "Having these last days spoken unto us by his son," which his son, Yahweh Shai, being the word. Let's get that real quick. It's the book of Revelation, the 19th chapter. In which it goes without saying, the word obviously now on display is in the form of the scriptures, which captures the spirit of Yahweh Shai, so to speak. That's why when you read Psalms, the 40th chapter, the scriptures tell you what? "Lo, I come in the volume of the book." See, so this is Revelation 19. and 13, and it reads, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood. And that represents our Lord Yahushua, and pretty much him triumphing, him being victorious over his enemies. See? It says, and his name is called what? The Word of God. See that? So when you go back here again to Hebrews 1 and 2, having these last days spoken unto us by his Son, or the Word, whom he have appointed heir of all things, that's King's language, by whom also he made the worlds. So this current system, this beast system, is nothing more than a world, one of the many worlds that rose to power and will eventually fall out of power. Right? When you go back, for an example, to let's say the ancient Roman Empire, that was a world which was really cemented by its currency. That's how worlds are cemented. That's why you have these devils trying to pretty much conjure up a currency out of thin air, a digital currency, which that will serve as the staple of them basically continuing in the power seat, which we know he's not going to accomplish that. But nevertheless, that's his attempt to stay in power. When you go back to the ancient Roman Empire, as I mentioned, the currency was, you had the denarius, which was a silver. You had aureus, which was the gold standard. And you even had lesser quality coins. You had bronze coins. If I'm not mistaken, I believe is the Ceterius. You can look it up. And even beyond that, you go back to the ancient Persians, the Persian Empire, for an example. The currency, the driving force was darics, which was gold standard coins. You had sigilos, which was silver. See? So those was different worlds. The ancient Romans, the ancient Babylonians, the Greeks, and even now, this current beast system is nothing more than a world which was made, pretty much spoken into existence. See that? Matter of fact, there's a couple of words I want to look at right here. Scriptures say, by whom also he made the worlds. Let's look at this word made. It says to make with the names of things made, to produce. So these different kingdoms and empires is a production. See? Construct, form, fashion, see, etc. Oh, to be the authors of. See? So that proves that these different worlds were spoken into existence. It says to make ready, to prepare, to produce, bear, shoot forth. It says to make, i.e., constitute or appoint one anything, to appoint or ordain one that, declare one anything, to put one forth, cause one to do, to be the authors of a thing, to cause, bring about. See? So pretty much all these different kingdoms and empires was spoken into existence. And the authors of the being, this setting, is Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. See? So now let's look at this word worlds. The scriptures say he made the worlds. It says period of time, age. See, period of time, age. So this is an age, this is a period of time which is governed over by Esau, the so-called white man. See that? And I'm basically preaching to the choir at this point. Those of you out there, you know the lingo. See? But what's the point? This world was spoken into existence. It was all, one of the definitions that was prepared. So everything was ordained, constituted, constructed, fashioned by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. See? So now we will be, as touching these worlds, we will be in the world of Esau. Let's get that real quick. And these wacky-tacky Christians, they can't pick up on that. They see, for God so loved the world, for an example, in John 3:16. And the only thing they can picture, only thing they can visualize is the planet Earth as a whole. And that one miscalculation, they stumble at the sayings of Yahweh Shah. What we just read in Hebrews, the 1st chapter, where you have worlds. You see? And we have been opened up to that understanding. Those worlds, again, is these different kingdoms and empires. In which now, again, we would be in the world of Esau. It's the book of Second Ezra, the 6th chapter. In the 20th verse, and it reads, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away, and what world is this? This present world. And it's vanishing away, literally. This place has lost its luster. They basically have to go back to the drawing board and stir up another installment of Toy Story, or I don't know what Super Bowl we're in. Like they had the Roman numerals to capture each Super Bowl. This place is losing the shine and luster that it once had. It's waning, it's fading away. See? It says, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished. And this is the end goal. It's not as if it's going to begin to vanish or lose its luster and then regain its footing and come back into power. No, this is the be-all, end-all. It's going to be finished. See? So it's going to decline into destruction. And you can actually read about that in the book of Jeremiah, the 51st chapter in the 25th verse, I want to say, where the scripture speaks to the Lord rolling Esau down from the mountain and making him wet a burnt mountain. So this decline has a destination, and that destination is destruction. See? It says, then will I show these tokens. Let's read this again. It says, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished. And again, what world? Real quick. Let's jump up and let's see what world this is speaking about. This is 2nd Ezra 6:9. It says, for Esau is what? The end of the world. So that world that's vanishing and will eventually be finished or brought to an end is Esau's world. See? And if you far into this form of teaching, right, you should be intrigued if you're sincere, because you should say, well, hold up, who the hell is this Esau, man? Who is this Esau, and why is he so prominent in relation to biblical prophecy? See? Then, if your thinking caps is really strapped on, you'll wonder why it was such a conspiracy to hide this guy. You see these devils, right? They got all this technology. They even go into different period pieces. One of my favorite movies is the movie Jesus of Nazareth. I recommend, you watch it if you mature in the spirit, because, they got Edomites playing parts of the patriots, even Yahweh Shai, the disciples. But it's a good movie. Basically, they did a good job on taking you back to that time right? But it's an indictment against Esau because, okay, you that thorough in your research and whatnot, why you ain't never talking about Esau? I believe out of all the period pieces is one movie dedicated to Esau. And that's real recent. And I didn't even know about that. I was mentioning, I believe somebody on the comment board said, yeah, there's a movie about Esau. And I later looked it up and it was the case. But you mean to tell me with all this technology, you got AI, 3D? Oh, remember the movie dedicated to the flood? What was that movie? Noah? Which the movie was off, but it was, the graphics was intense. So you mean to tell me that Jacob and Esau wouldn't be a good movie with the struggle in the womb? Why they staying away from that? See, because they know that this character, Esau, is pretty much the nemesis, the arch enemy and nemesis of not only Israel, but the Most High himself. See, and his only begotten son. Remember, it wasn't coincidental that Yahushua was put to death under the Romans, the Edomites. See, it says for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So after this system is moved out of the way, there's going to be a new system, a new regime in power, Jacob, Israel, and it's going to be a vast future. Scripture speaks about, for you see that phrase as touching the kingdom of heaven sporadically throughout the scriptures for many generations. Well, that hints at the kingdom because there's not going to be an ending to it. Versus this kingdom, Esau's, right, where you see it's the end of the world. See, so now let's jump down to the 20th verse again. It says, and when the world, see, that shall begin to vanish away. So we see this makes more sense. Who world? Esau world. See? And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I what? Show these tokens. So there will be indicators that this kingdom is over, man. And which in a nice lesson, I got a series of articles, even in video form, we're going to run through, which serves as a it serves as a complement, if you will, to what this precept where the Lord will eventually show tokens. See, which will signal what? This world vanishing away. See, we're in heavy times, man. You got a lot of these different Israelite groups out there. They're just kind of moving with the motions, and it's cool. We get it. We're not trying to convince you. We understand the task at hand to teach this word, and the elect, it will pique your interest. Your senses will be heightened, meaning the Lord will wake you up at this time where he's getting ready to fashion this transition. This is a heavy time in biblical prophecy, man. See, where the Lord would feature the long-awaited kingdom of heaven. See, which is really a continuation of Solomon's kingdom. Oh, and just a quick nugget. Why don't Esau talk about Solomon, man? Why don't he go into the, because I believe Solomon's, you go into the financial perspective of Solomon, I believe it was like $52 billion. It was worth $52 billion just dealing with the temple, man. If you was to use Martin, I might be off a few numbers. It was a minute. I researched that. See, I believe King David was worth so many billions. But then remember, he had to go out, and pretty much he had blood on his hands. But Solomon's kingdom was basically the prototype to this kingdom of heaven that we speak on behalf of. See, but again, the Lord in the shore of mercy said, look, I'm going to begin to show you tokens. You're going to see that I'm making good on my promise. See? And those tokens will be an indicator that this world is finished. And if you're a so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, you should dance to that. But as it were, we know our people, they have developed that sickness, Stockholm syndrome. They even go as far as getting mad when you tell them that this world is coming to an end. And they're Israelites, and there's a vast future prepared for them. But hey, that's neither here or there, right? The subject matter, the objective is what? Feeding the sheep. And if that applies, then this is good news. This is glad tidings, that this world will begin to vanish. See? And again, how will we know? Based upon the tokens. Now, as promised, let me, you know what? Before we go there, just to set the stage, quick precept come to mind right here. In the book of Luke, the 21st chapter, and starting at the 10th verse, and you see the heading, things to come. So this is what's heavily promoted in the scriptures, having eyes to see, and in a certain spirit of anticipation to watch for the things that will serve as tokens that the kingdom of heaven is near. This is Luke 21, and starting at the 10 verses, says, then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, which we witnessing this. It says, in kingdom against kingdom. And that nation against nation is really dealing with the different nations of people. You're going to have race riots. There's already, the tension is already at an all-time high with that. And the kingdom against kingdom is literal countries. Real quick, let's prove that. Let's look at both of these words. First, let's look up this word, nation. That word that's ethnos. Go back to what? Your ethnicity, see? A multitude, whether of men or beasts, associated or living together, a company, troop, swarm, a multitude of individuals of the same nature, or genus, that goes back to your genes. It says the human family, see? A tribe, nation, people, group. See that? So that nation against nation is literal nations bumping heads. This being a time, an all-time high in relation to tension amongst the kindreds of the people. Yahushua prophesied that. Now, when you go into this word kingdom, it says a kingdom, the territory is subject to the ruler of a king. See? So you see that with the kings of the earth. You know, we don't even have to expound on that. These nations, the kings of the earth, is basically being pit one against another, and who's mustering, who's instigating the battle? Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. See? Oh, Trump came out and threatened he's sending a nuke to Iran, and Iran countered with more fighting words, vowing to destroy America and continue their war against the West. So that's an indicator of what? Things to come. See? These are not random events in the earth. It's all calculated. Verse 11, it says, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, which has been in records of earthquakes. Really, each year, earthquakes, the numbers of earthquakes have spiked. Let's show you how cold, let's show you that the word reigns supreme, Yahushua. He spoke this 2000, this is recorded, this is ancient writings here, documented, man. And this is not like a broad, right? This is on point. For you to make such a sensitive and detailed proclamation that there will be earthquakes in different places, and it actually happening, man. See, and famines, and what, and pestilence, and the pestilence have gripped whole, really America, which we're gonna get into that as well. See, again, the Bible reigns supreme, man. This book is the power source to life. It serves as the script. See? Oh, we looked up that word made in Hebrews, the first chapter, where the Lord said he spoke the worlds into existence and made the worlds. one of the definitions for that word made was to be authors of. And that's what this is pretty much the script. So the Lord is the author of everything that's taking place. See, it says in famines and pestilence and fearful sights. See, as you can see, the title of this lesson, signs and wonders. See, and great signs shall there be from heaven. And you know what's heavy about these signs and wonders? Only the elect can see them. The people, they see them with a physical eye, but with that spiritual eye, we can see it and make sense of it, understanding that, again, it's all calculated. It falls under the banner of the wondrous works of the Most High. See? So from there, as promised, let me see here. It say Cyclospora outbreak reported in Alabama. I wasn't really looking for this one, but let's just go into it. Like I said, I got a string of articles set up. We're going to try to run through them rapid fire. But these articles, again, as we view things through spiritual lenses, we can see that they're tokens. The same tokens that we just read in the book of Second Ezra, the 6th chapter, where the Lord said, when this world that began to vanish away be finished, then you're going to see these tokens. They're going to complement that transition. So you got this recall affecting Alabama. Again, I wasn't even trying to look at going to this one, but matter of fact, let me see something here. Yep, this is fresh off the shelf, man. It's happening quick. Things is happening, man. Like the Apostle Taha like to mention, if you miss a day, you miss a lot. True saying indeed, because things is popping off, right? Like I just randomly can't, I wasn't going to go into this one, but this is July 19th, all but what? 3 days ago. So you have a recall affecting Alabama and Walmart shoppers, and Walmart is a staple amongst America, man. Everybody, if you ain't in Walmart, you at BJ's or one of these places on the East Coast, right? But it's the same distribution to all these places. So the Lord is performing what we often like to go into, a blockade and siege. This is a war strategy. And you people gonna start feeling the crunch, bet that. It says, the Alabama Department of Public Health has reported 21 confirmed cases in the state. The outbreak has been linked to Taylor Farms lettuce products, which are sold at Walmart and served at several restaurants. Walmart has recalled affected bag lettuce. So, like I said, I wasn't trying to go into that one, but hey. But I do want to go into, you know what? Let me see what this looks like, the same one. Okay, well, you see here, it's the same Taylor Farms, right? And they recall lettuce in 27 states. See that? So it ain't just in Alabama. You know what? Oh, some just come to mind. What's that? Is that Ezekiel, the 5th chapter? Yep. This is Ezekiel 5 and starting at 16. Well, this is the point. The 16th verse says, when I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine. And why the Lord is referring to the famine as arrows, because this is one of his weapons of choice. So the Lord have waged war against America. And it makes sense because America is a place that's geared towards what? Intemperance, food, restaurants all over the place. When you had the World Games here, the World Cup, a lot of those foreigners, they was gravitating to the food here. It's countless of videos. Oh, you had these foreigners, the nations, they bugged out. They had McDonald's with fries, dipping them in the drink, in the soda. Brothers know what I'm talking about. I believe one of the brothers shared in the chat. You had this one guy, he said he had to take some ranch home. He had to taste ranch for the first time. He had to take it with him, man. We had to take it back to his room or whatever. He bottled it up. So America is synonymous with food. See, the most obese nation on the planet. You eat for everything. You eat when it's graduation, a time of joy, celebration. You eat in sorrow after funerals. Everything is based upon eating. You got lunch, brunch, snacks. So this is calculated. See, when I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their wet destruction. So you're not going to recoup. It's not as if the Lord going to send a famine and you're going to regroup. No, eventually it's going to lead to your destruction. It says, in which I will send to destroy you, and I will what? Increase the famine. See? And I will increase the famine upon you and will break your staff of bread. That word staff goes into stability. So this only makes sense when dealing with America, not these third world countries. Now you might say, well, hold up, there's other places that's westernized. They got restaurants. There's a McDonald's in this certain country, but no, the focal point, the target is America, man. See? But what's the point? The Lord said he would increase the famine. See that? So when you go back here to this article, remember, we opened up with the article, which again, I wasn't even really trying to go into that article, but it's the spirit, because it was the same recall from Taylor Forms. And in that article, right here, it only affected Alabama. You see? But right here, you see where it has spread to 27 states, man. And we just went into the scriptures, right? Again, the Lord is the author of all of this. We just read it. Well, the Lord said he would not only send forth the famine, but he would increase the famine. See? Which, by the way, that word recall, it goes into call back. And when you really go into the science of it, that's the Most High calling back. Even though he's executing through his left hand. Because we know, for an example, this devil killed Gates. He basically killed off 97% of the farmland, the dairy products. He slaughtered livestock. Why, man? Because you the sword that the Lord used to cut off the supplies of the city. So the farmers is feeling the crunch as well, which I got a little on that as well. Some disturbing news that have come out from these farmers. See? The Lord have indeed proceeded forth with his visitation of America, point blank, period, man. And there's nothing you can do to stop that momentum. What's that, Job 11:10? If he cut off or shut up, who can stop him? See, so yep, food supplier behind diarrhea. Oh, and this is some in itself, right? Matter of fact, I got that as well. Explosive diarrhea cases hit record number as U.S. experienced. Let me read this again. And you see the source, independent. Explosive diarrhea cases hit record number as U.S. experiences nearly 4 times annual total. And you can look no further. Let's go back here. Let's go back to the scriptures. See, this is what we build upon. When the scripture speaks about building on that stone, that foundation, Yahweh, this is what we're doing. You are living it. See? As we go back to the scriptures, you see we are being comforted because Yahweh spoke of these things. Let's go back here to Luke 21. Luke 21 and 11. See, again, the heading, things to come. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines See? And what? And pestilence. And pestilence. Can't make this up, man. The Lord is executing his word. See? This is a form of pestilence, explosive diarrhea. And we were speaking in jest, because you got to have a little fun with this at the same time. But we were speaking about that word explosive being associated with this diarrhea right here. Almost like the Most High is constantly reminding you of the destruction. Right? It says the number of cases of parasitic illness that causes explosive diarrhea has risen to levels nearly 4 times the. See that? The Lord is increasing it. It's not digressing. See? Why? Because it emanates from the word. And we know the word is known as the seed. So it's not going to revert. No, it's going to only increase and grow and grow and grow to the perfect day, which will be the return of Yahushua. See? It says has risen, see that? To levels nearly 4 times the average annual total in the United States. See that? This the target. See that? Across 41 states, an additional 7,400 cases reported to agencies. And that's the spirit. This same lettuce, right, that's being recalled. Look at that. So it's only increasing. Matter of fact, like I said, I got a string of different. Let's see if we could pull this. This is from the New York Post. See if we can get through these ads, man. These devils, man, they greedy as hell, man. Look at this shit, man. Man, if I can ever get to this. All right, it says, and this was published July 22nd today, 8:38 a.m. Eastern. It says U.S. hits most cases of world's most contagious disease in 35 years, and it's only July. See that? So the momentum, everything is trending towards this place being finished. Remember, we read that in 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, when this world, right, the world of Esau, began to vanish away, which we're witnessing. We got front row seats to that. Well, it says when it began to vanish away, it will eventually be finished, man. See, so you see everything is decreasing. The famine, and in this case, these contagious disease, which falls under the banner of the pestilence that Yahushua promised. And I'm not going to read into this. I mean, the article, the headline says it all. Furthermore, all these damn pop-ups. See? But again, you could look no further than where? The scriptures. There's going to be pestilence. And they will serve as what? Great signs. This will be a part of those tokens. The wonders. Well, the signs, and we're going to get in a bit into the wonders aspect of the title, right? Because as we look at these different articles, those are actual signs, tokens, but also the wonders aspect of it. This word pestilence, a pestilent fellow, pest, plague. It says plague, literally what? The disease. See? Literally the disease. And that's why it's no coincidence over here in Babylon the Great, you have the world's most contagious disease, the most in 35 years. And you see here the caveat, and it's only July. Why? Because they're projecting it to get worse, as we are. You see, but we building our case off the scriptures. See that? Oh, yep. We got oil surging past $95 as U.S. downplays Iran diplomacy, and Houthis threaten second trade route. So this is going to contribute as well to, obviously gas shortages, which is the source to you people and your day-to-day business as usual approach over here in America, Babylon the Great. That's why when you read, let me grab some real quick. What's that? I want to say that's Ezekiel. Is it 17? Yep, this is Ezekiel 17. I started the second verse to say, Son of man, put forth a riddle and speak a parable unto the house of Israel. And say, thus saith the Lord power, a great eagle with great wings, long-winged, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came unto Lebanon and took the highest branch of the cedar. And ultimately, just to summarize this without going into in depth, that's dealing with Esau and him taking Jake into captivity. He took the highest branch of the cedar. Now, when you consider, let's say a tree, right? The roots is the beginning of that tree. You got a family tree. The roots is the beginning, but what's the end of the tree? The highest branch. So the eagle came and plucked the highest branch. And that's when they took us in captivity, It says he chopped off the top, of his young twigs, meaning what? Well, your young come after you. So here in the latter days, that's when they took us into captivity. See? Because the top of the tree is the youngest part of the tree. It says, and carried it, and carried it unto the land of what? Traffic. He set it in the city of merchants, and that's dealing with America. That land of traffic, which goes back to trade. So when you have disturbing reports coming out like this, where you got oil, the price is surging, that's a strategic war strategy aimed at America. The land of traffic, the land of trade. See that? So let me see what else I got here. Okay, yeah. All right, so this is from Independent. And I'm interested to see. I know this came out, today, and this came out at 7:34. Now check this out. It says farmers warn food shortages are just 10 days away. So, you could give or take days or weeks even, maybe. Because with these, basically, when you look at really, you center your purchasing around, and we all do this, the expiration date. So you think that they being forthcoming? Of course not, man. They'll manipulate those expiration dates. So we really in the midst of famine. Or like they do this chicken. They'll serve the chicken, and if the chicken haven't sold in so many days, especially in places like Fresh Market, maybe Whole Foods, then they'll take the chicken, then they'll layer it with spices and kebab it, or whatnot. Then if that don't work, then they'll just serve the shit they'll cut it up and serve it to a sandwich or serve it rotisserie. Why? Because basically they're preserving it because everything is not as plentiful. See? Yeah, and we here. That's what we here, man. We the bearers of bad news. If you came here looking for some optimistic perspective of America, you're not gonna get it. We only gonna call it how it is, man. We were set up as watchmen to warn you. See, farmers warn food shortages are just 10 days away. The signs, see, and I didn't even peep that. As you can see again, the title of this lesson, Signs and Wonders. See, the signs suggest they've already arrived. And we already know this. See, and we just bracing for impact. I said, it says, if you know where to look, there are signs everywhere of how food insecure Britain is becoming. A good place to start is in supermarket aisles, or which this is dealing with the mother. And we know this eventually going to spill over to here. Because, matter of fact, you know what? Let's prove that. Because again, the central focus is America. And for an example, you got the infrastructure for the MOTB, right? We got the RFID over here, but you got the NFC, across the pond. Well, the infrastructure already set up. Oh, in China, the infrastructure set up for the MOTB, man. You can walk in certain stores and make a purchase, and there's not even a cashier in the store. You just walk in, get what you're going to get, and when you walk under the scanner, it pick up the microchip and they bill you. See, that's the time we in. But the point I'm making is, you think that's only reserved for that? No, the main event is America. See, what's that? Jeremiah, I want to say that Jeremiah 50. This is Jeremiah 50 and 16. It says, cut off the sword from Babylon. See, cut off the sword from Babylon, and him, let me look at this word, Zerah, sow, scatter seed, to sow, producing, yielding seed. Pretty much a farmer. That's who sowed the seeds, the farmer. So when the scriptures say cut off the sword from Babylon, that's going straight to the source, the farmers. And I mentioned Kill Gates. The Lord used Kill Gates to execute this. He bought up again 97% of the farmland. He torched the fields. He slaughtered the livestock. He destroyed the dairy, the milk. See? It says, in him that handleth the sickle, which a sickle is a farming tool. It says, when in the time of harvest. So that's strategic. Farming is unique, very volatile game. If you don't have your seeds planted at a certain time, then it messes up the whole crop. So if the Lord cut off the sword in the time of harvest, then what can you reap? See? And you people don't feel it now, but you're going to feel it. These farmers already been given subtle hints that America is in trouble, man. It says, for fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn everyone to his people, and they shall flee everyone to his own land. So America going to be forsaken, because this place will no longer be desired. Once the plague settle in, that's it, man. See that? So continue on. Again, I got I'm gonna try to, you know what? I might try to, let me see something. Yeah, we might just try to run through this quick as possible. We might have to even skip over a few things. It says, a man with paralysis after an experimental brain implant. Now we getting into the wonders aspect of this lesson. So you're going to see different signs and what? Wonders. This is a wonder right here. And to even go deeper, you know what? You know what, man? Shalak Rayam to you devils, man. Right? So you got this Edomite, he had this brain implant. It says a man who became paralyzed from the neck down after a driving accident 6 years ago has now regained the ability to feel and grasp objects thanks to an experimental brain implant. We've been telling you this for years, but it ain't us, it's the scriptures. Revelation 13 and 16. He who receiveth the mark in his right hand or in his forehead. Can't get no clearer than that, man. Now, nigga might say, well, what about, I know somebody who got one in his butt cheek. Well, he still got the chip. See? So this is the wonders. This is one of the many wonders, right? We see the signs as well as wonders that Yahweh Shai is coming. See? It's low and slow right here, man. Let me see something. Now, if you're paying attention what he said, I'm gonna go back a little here so you can see that. But he's speaking about how it's strange to, this guy, his age bracket and different generations who was born prior to this time, but it would not be foreign to those who are born in this AI age. Well, they're gonna naturally, organically even gravitate to that technology, one of those wonders. But guess what? Even when you look at our generation, we was met with wonders as well. Even for an example, the telephone. It's primitive now, but that's still a wonder where you can actually speak. You was able to speak to someone across town. That wasn't seen in different kingdoms. See, that's the wonder. But we was born into it, so it didn't seem strange. That's why in the spirit we have been called out of this darkness. Now we could just see it play out now, if that makes sense. We watch it from the watchtower. So now we have disconnected, so we can see those wonders that seem like they was normal. We don't talk about phones, but that's a wonder. Or even the way you conduct business, where you can send someone cash, cash app, or you ain't have to physically be there. That's one of the wonders. You see, but right here you see where it's pretty much increasing into this AI age. But again, this is a part of those wonders. See that? So yeah, basically we see all things relating to prophecy begin to well, I won't even say begin. It's already been in motion. We have now just been awakened to it. You see? But everything is going according to plan and right on schedule. So what we just witnessed was a part of the wonders, if you will. Matter of fact, let's go there. It's the book of 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter. And starting at the 3rd verse, it reads, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come." And that day is speaking about the great and notable day of the Lord, except there come a falling away first. And that prophecy was fulfilled. We fell away as a people. It says, "And that man of sin shall be revealed, the son of perdition." And we know that's dealing with Esau. It says, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself to that he is the Most High." See? Which that happened, through the different imagery. This man set himself up as the Most High, the patriarchs of the Bible, even the angels. He depicted himself as the angels, our forefathers, right? In the form of paintings and frescoes, even, and busk and statues, and even in movies. Different period pieces, he showed himself that he is the Most High. But even as we just saw with that technology, right? You lose your memory. This man said, "Look, I can restore it." You lose sensation, feeling, right? You are paralyzed, as we looked at in the article. You can regain that strength through his technology. See? Verse 5, "Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things." And we're in a time where the Lord is stirring up our pure minds by way of remembrance. And that's pursuant to 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. It says, "And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time." So we're in a time where this man is being revealed. See, it says, "For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work," meaning he was around in the time of the Apostle Paul. He was there. He'd been there. He'd been working always since the beginning. It says, "Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way." So again, we're in a time where the Lord is revealing his man. It says, "Then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming." So chronologically, before he's destroyed, the Lord is going to reveal him by way of what? The spirit of his mouth. Hence the prophets. See? Verse 9, and it's the point. It says, "Even him, Esau, whose coming is after the working of Satan," which goes into an oppositional force, "with all power and what? Signs and lying wonders." Signs and lying wonders. So a part of the signs that we would look for is the lying wonders. Let's click on his word wonder. When those times? Wonder, it says a prodigy, portent, Salakia, miracle. See? Miracle performed by anyone. In this case, Esau, he performed miracles through his technology. Revelation, the 13th chapter, the miracles of the beast. See? So that wonder would complement the signs, and vice versa. The signs and the wonders all come together in order to meet our process, if you will, of clarity. So the Lord is complementing what we have been taught, what we have been presented with in the form of his doctrine. He complemented with actual signs. See that? And it's emphatic, man. You got to be out. You sleep. You are not awoke. You're blind spiritually if you don't see Well, pretty much everything I done went through in this lesson, which I got a few more, one more I'll probably hit in closing. And even throughout the ministry itself, as it relates to the report that go forth from the men of the Lord. As we filter these current events, if you will, through the scriptures, man, if you can't see it, that means the Lord blinded you. But if you can see it, hey, call Halayim La Yahweh Shah. Because this is what the Lord chose to serve as basically your get out of jail free card, so to speak, your hall pass. You know, you have something like a receipt. Oh, for an example, you might have like a setting where it requires, right, if the media won't access, they got to have media credentials, if you can understand. So basically, we've been given credentials. Now, we find ourselves in a very privileged position in which the scriptures say, well, at this point, we are to hope to the end. So the water Yahweh Shah, he's a great king. He didn't have to allow us to see his will. This thrust doesn't accompany of great men. Oh, remember Noah? Before Noah was delivered, he had to see the will of the Most High. He was given a blueprint in which if he followed, which he did through that obedience, the Lord put the spirit on him to build the perfect hedge against the flood, which was in the form of the ark. Well, that's where we at. Through this wisdom, we building a hedge against the evils. And Lord willing, we continue, as it is written, those of you who continue in my temptations. Now, we'll end off right here. It's loading up real slow. But all I need is right here. We good. All I need is the heading. It says it all. It said complacent West is sliding into inevitable World War III, warns ex-minister. See? So, I mean, this is the exclamation point. Because this all builds up to anyway. The destruction of America. See? In which, again, these different signs and wonders are nothing more. They serve as a indicator to these things. See? Let me see here. So yeah, I'll end it right there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. As always, want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the head apostles and elders, a great millstone. Shalom to the fellow laborers out there, and as always, you believers. Till the next time, shalom.